أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأجل فرجهم. First and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the tawfiq, the blessing to hold the majalis of our seventh Imam, our dear Bab al-Hawaij, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam. And we would like to express our condolences to all the mu'mineen, mu'minat here today, our dear respected scholars, as well as the Imam of our time, Imam al-Asr, Imam Sahib al-Asr, Imam al-Zamana, Ajdallah Farajim Sharif, on this very sad occasion. Indeed, today, through our recitations and indeed our lecture, which is to come, we will try and go into some of the merits as well as some of the virtues of our dear Imam before finishing off with some words of the Masa'ib which Imam had to bear through, as well as what he had to experience throughout his life. Indeed, we find with Imam Musa Kadhim, he is the only Imam who spent the longest time in prison in the dungeons of Baghdad. And inshallah, today we will try and express our condolences to the Imam of our time on this very sad occasion. Before we begin, I would like to ask our dear brother, our dear reciter, Abul Qasim Asadi, to begin his Quran recitation, and we welcome our dear brother with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام را تلك آيات الكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون نحن نقص عليك الأحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين قال يا بني لا تقصص رؤياك على إخوتك فيكيدوا لك كيدا إن الشيطان للإنسان عدو مبين وكذلك يجتبيك ربك ويعلمك من تأويل الأحاديث ويتم نعمته عليك وعلى آل يعقوب كما أتمها على أبويك من قبل إبراهيم وإسحاق إن ربك عليم حكيم لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين إذ قالوا ليوسف وأخوه أحب إلى أبينا منا ونحن عصبة إن أبانا لفي ضلال مبين اقتلوا يوسف أو اطرحوه أرضا يخل لكم وجه أبيكم وتكونوا من بعده قوما صالحين قال قائل منهم لا تقتلوا يوسف وألقوه في غيابة الجب يلتقطه بعض السيارة إن كنتم فاعلين قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون قال إني ليحزنني أن تذهبوا به وأخاف أن يأكله الذئب وأنتم عنه غافلون قالوا لئن أكله الذئب ونحن أصبة إنا إذا لخاسرون فلما ذهبوا به وأجمعوا أن يجعلوه في غيابة الجب وأوحينا إليه لتنبئنهم بأمرهم هذا وهم لا يشعرون وجاءوا أباهم عشاء يبكون قالوا يا أبانا إنا ذهبنا نستبق وتركنا يوسف عند متاعنا فأكله الذئب وما أنت بمؤمن لنا ولو كنا صادقين وجاءوا على قميصه بدم كذب قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل والله المستعان على ما تصفون وجاءت سيارة فأرسلوا واردهم فأدلى دلوه قال يا بشرى هذا غلام وأسروه بضاعة والله عليم بما يعملون وشروه بثمن بخس دراهم معدودة وكانوا فيه من الزاهدين وقال الذي اشتراه من مصر لأمرته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض ولنعلمه من تأويل الأحاديث والله غالب على أمره ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون ولما بلغ أشده آتيناه حكما وعلما وكذلك نجزي المحسنين وراودته التي هو في بيتها عن نفسه وغلقت الأبواب وقالت حيت لك قال معاذ الله إنه ربي أحسن مثواي إنه لا يفلح الظالمون ولقد همت به وهم بها لولا أن رأى برهان ربه كذلك لنصرف عنه السوء والفحشاء إنه من عبادنا المخلصين واستبق الباب وقدت قميصه من دبر وألف يا سيدها لدى الباب قالت ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك سوءا إلا أن يسجن أو عذاب أليم قال هي راودتني عن نفسي وشهد شاهد من أهلها إن كان قميصه قد من قبل فصدقت وهو من الكاذبين وإن كان قميصه قد من دبر فكذبت وهو من الصادقين فلما رأى قميصه قد من دبر قال إنه من كيدكن إن كيدكن عظيم. يوسف أعرض عن هذا واستغفري لذنبك إنك كنت من الخاطئين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Thank you, dear brother Abul Qasim Asadi, for your very beautiful recitation. And some of you may be wondering why we picked Surah Yusuf in particular. And essentially, there's no particular reason, but within this surah, which our brother just very beautifully recited, we find some similarities between Hazrat Yusuf and our day Imam, who we remember today, Imam Musa Kadhim, and I'll explain what I mean. For example, towards the end of these verses, we find that when Hazrat Yusuf was being pursued by Zulaykha, and he saved himself, and he said that if there was a baby, it is narrated, there was a baby, in fact, from the family of Zulaykha and the minister, and the baby spoke from the cradle because the minister thought that Zulaykha had committed an injustice with Hazrat Yusuf, and Hazrat Yusuf knew that he was with his Lord, and he was trying to save that inner sanctity, that innocence that he had. And indeed, we know our Nabis never commit sins. So the baby testified and said, as we just saw with our brother's recitation, that if the shirt is ripped from the back, then it's from Zulaykha, but if it's ripped from the front, then it's Yusuf's fault. Similarly, we find that with our Imams, and not only with our Imams, if you look at our history, many other Anbiya have spoken whilst at birth. What do we mean? The likes of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, you are all aware of. We find with our Imams, the likes of Imam Ali alayhi salam, whose birthday we commemorated a few days ago. He didn't open his eyes unless Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam held him. And he said to Rasulullah, if you want, I can recite the books of the past, or I can recite to you from the Quran as it's narrated. And we also find our dear Imam Babul Hawaij, Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, who when he was just born, a companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, I came to visit Imam Sadiq and I found him with a cradle and he was playing with this baby and he was giving him comfort. And I said, oh, Imam Sadiq, my salam upon you. And Imam Sadiq looked to me and said, won't you say salam to your master who's in this cradle? And the companion who's narrating this says, I thought, how can a baby speak? How will he understand what I'm saying? And Imam Sadiq said, this is not an ordinary baby. This is your master, your Imam after me. So come forward and pay your respect to your Imam. So he came forward and he said to Imam Musa Kadhim, Assalamu alaikum, O seventh Imam, my salam be upon you. And he narrates, I heard a reply back from the young child saying, Wa alaikum salam, O man. And so it shows you that even whilst the Imam is born, he is so blessed. He has these certain virtues and characteristics which we don't find with other people. And secondly, the reason why we mentioned Surah Yusuf in particular was we find with Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he was placed into prison for many amounts of years. And whilst he was there, he would ask and interpret the people's dreams. We all know the story. But when it came to for Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, we never found him complaining. Prophet Yusuf on one hand was complaining and saying to the people, when you're released, go tell the king about me, mention me in his presence. But with Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, we find him saying, no, oh Allah, I used to ask you to give me more time to do ibadah for you, so I can pray to you. And indeed, you've given me more time whilst I'm in this dungeon. And they say the dungeons and the cells that Imam Musa Qasim was placed into, if you go to Baghdad today and you see with your eyes, people cannot hold their emotions because some of them are so deep into the ground that you cannot tell whether it's the day or the night time. And they are so low in terms of their height. The roof is so crouched down that you have to stand in ruku to do your qiyam, let alone doing your ruku by itself. That's how low the roof was. But you never find Imam Musa Kadhim complaining. Indeed, he would be reciting Subuhun Qudusan Rabbal Malaikati wa Ruh. Glory be to that holy light. Glory be to my Lord, who is the master, the creator of all creation. And so we remember our dear Imam throughout the night today. And I would like to now welcome our dear brother Yusuf Okera to please come onto our minbar and recite for us his beautiful eulogy. And we welcome our dear brother with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Kazim ke پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے کاظم کے پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے یہ کیسا ستم ہے ظالموں نے میت پل پہ رکھوائی ہے کاظم کے پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے یہ کیسا بے کس قیدی ہے مرنے پہ بھی جو آزاد نہیں مرنے پہ بھی جو آزاد نہیں لاشیں پہ بقیا سے ہائے ایک بی بی رونے آئی ہے کاظم کے پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے تابوت کو میرے مولا کے مزدور اٹھا کر لاتے ہیں مزدور اٹھا کر لاتے ہیں مظلوم کی لاش اٹھانے کو نہ بیٹا ہے نہ بھائی ہے کاظم کے پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے تن کی زنجیر مولا کی غربت پہ نوحہ کرتی ہے غربت پہ نوحہ کرتی ہے اور خاک نے اڑ کے کاظم کے لاشیں کو ردا پہنائی ہے کاظم کے پاک جنازے کو زنجیر ستم پہنائی ہے یہ 14 سال سے قیدی تھا اور آج بہائے قیدی ہے اور आज भी हाय कैदी है, मजलूम के लाशे पे अब तक फरियाद कुना तन्हाई है, काजिम के पाक जनाजे को जंजीर सितम पहनाई है, वो तो के गला का एक निशान गर्दन पे अभी तक बाकी है, गर्दन पे अभी तक बाकी है, मौला ने मेरे इस बच्चों से रस्में सजाद निभाई है, काजिम के पाक जनाजे को जंजीर सितम जंजीर सितम पहनाई है। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद व अज्जिल
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Thank you so much there, brother Yusuf, for your very heart-touching and profound recitation. Indeed, I lost for words. I don't know what I can possibly say, the Messiah, the way you recited it. And for those of our dear brothers and sisters who do not speak the Urdu language, what brother Yusuf was very beautifully reciting was the Messiah of Imam Musa Kadhim, that if you sum it all up, in essence, that even his janazah, without imams, if you look at it, no one imam had a proper janazah. You look at all of our 12 imams, including Lady Fatima, even if you go as far back as Rasulullah, these profound beings who gave their all for the people, and when people would ask them, what can we give you in return, what money, what wealth, they would say, our ajr is with Allah. And despite this and the humbleness, you see what the ummah did to these profound personalities, where Rasulullah maybe only 7 or 8 people at his funeral, Lady Fatima perhaps even fewer than that, Imam Ali alayhi salam, only Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. He was buried in the nights because why? He was afraid that the enemies of Imam Ali would excavate his body after him. You see the janazah of Imam Hassan alayhi salam in Medina, the only janazah to have left the house and came back. No janazah leaves the home and returns back. Imam Hassan's coffin was the only janazah which returned back to his home because of the arrows they shot into that pure body. With Imam Hussein, again, words cannot describe what Imam Hussein went through. And you see this with our imams. And what Brother Yusuf was just reciting for us there was that Imam Musa Kadhim's janazah, his coffin was so mazloom, it was filled with so much masaib that even his coffin had chains around it. And indeed, we find in some narrations that when they were trying to give the ghusl, Imam Rida was trying to give the ghusl to his father, Imam Musa Kadhim, we found that they have to cut off the chains of his wrists and his neck. They couldn't just be taken off because they had become infused with his skin to such an extent that his skin was peeling off as well. And so Brother Yusuf was reminding everyone the Masa'ib of Imam Musa Kadhim in this sense. I would now like to welcome another dear brother who we are very honored to have among us, our dear respected Sayyid Nayyar Kazmi, to please come forward and recite his eulogy in honor of Imam Musa Kadhim. And we welcome our dear brother with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli
ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My condolences to you all on the martyrdom of our beloved Imam Musa Qasim, and not only to you guys, but to the Imam of our time as well. Inshallah, before I recite, I'll be reciting something that I wrote. And before I begin, can we please have a loud salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. How can I forget about his hardships, oppressed as he languished in his prison? How can I forget about his hardships, oppressed as he languished in his prison? Not able to stand or even sit down in the deepest parts of Kadhimiya. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. How can I forget about his hardships, oppressed as he languished in his prison? How can I forget about his hardships, oppressed as he languished in his prison, not able to stand or even sit down in the deepest parts of Kadhimiya? I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. Tortured, breathless as he prayed underground, poisoned on the bridge, his body was found. Tortured, breathless as he prayed underground, poisoned on the bridge, his body was found. For those to see his tragic oppression, the bridge of Baghdad cries in aggression. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. Tortured, breathless as he prayed underground, poisoned on the bridge, his body was found. Tortured, breathless as he prayed underground, poisoned on the bridge, his body was found. For those to see his tragic oppression, the bridge of Baghdad cries in aggression. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. I swear by Allah, I will not forget. I swear by Zahra, I will not forget. My sons were taken from the Holy Land. My sons were taken from the Holy Land, murdered, poisoned, captured in foreign lands. My sons were taken from the Holy Land, murdered, poisoned, captured in foreign lands. The angels will serve to be my witness, with my lovers chanting in unison. We swear by Allah, we did not forget. We swear by Zahra, we did not forget. We swear by Allah, we did not forget. We swear by Zahra, we did not forget. My sons were taken from the Holy Land. My sons were taken from the Holy Land, murdered, poisoned, captured in foreign lands. My sons were taken from the Holy Land, murdered, poisoned, captured in foreign lands. The angels will serve to be my witness, with my lovers chanting in unison. We swear by Allah, we did not forget. We swear by Zahra, we did not forget. We swear by Allah, we did not forget. We swear by Zahra, we did not forget. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Why don't you see me? Why don't you see me? I'm a pain, my heart has been shattered. Is it my sins? I am guilty, but my heart will always cry. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you, dear brother Syed Nayyar Kazmi, for your very beautiful, heartfelt recitation. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to further your tawfiq and to allow you to be with Imam Musa Kadhim in the hereafter, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to receive the shafa'a of Imam Musa Kadhim in the hereafter. Before we welcome on our dear Syed, respected Syed Imran Qaseem, just a few more points regarding Imam Musa Kazim's Fazail. And I wanted to mention three very short points before welcoming on our main lecturer. The first is that Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, he emphasized the fact of unity, which we tend to call in our fiqh and our terminology, silatul rahim, as in building of the relations. So having that mercy among your family members. And what do we really mean? There's one very beautiful hadith, very heart-touching, where there were two brothers who were coming down to Medina to do ziyarah of Rasulullah and at the same time visit Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam. Because as we know, Imam Musa Kadhim spent the first few years of his life with Imam Sadiq, but he was also present in Medina after him as well, before being taken to Baghdad. So these two brothers were coming down to Medina to do the ziyarah of Rasulullah, and they began fighting amongst each other. So both of them began fighting amongst each other, and they began using very foul language. And they ended up at the end saying that, I want to part ways with you. I don't want to see you ever again. And one brother became so angry, he went back to his hometown. And the other brother said, well, I'm still going to go to Medina. As he was going to Medina, he stopped on the way and visited his auntie. And then he went to Medina. He did the ziyarah of Rasulullah, and he came to Imam Musa Kadhim. Now, this also shows us the knowledge that our dear Imams have. He came to Imam Musa Kadhim and said to him, "O Imam, salam be upon you." And he began asking him for du'as. And Imam Musa Kadhim said to him, "Why did you argue with your brother on the way here?" And he replied, "I don't understand what you mean when I argued." He said, "When you were arguing with your brother, do you know, essentially, and I put this in my own words, the barakah that you were meant to have, you've taken that away." And Imam explained more. He said, because you did qata'i rahim, you cut the ties with your brother, even though whoever's right, whoever's wrong, the fact that you cut your ties with your brother's life has been cut. There's no barakah in his life anymore. And he's going to die before he reaches his hometown again. You also were going to die before you reached your hometown because your barakah was taken as well. But on the way here to visit Rasulullah, yes, you're here to do the ziyarah of Rasulullah, you visited your auntie. So you did silatul rahim there. Due to the silatul rahim you've done with your auntie on the way to the ziyarah of Rasulullah, your life has been extended for 30 more years. And the narrator says that I bear witness that what Imam Musa Kadhim said was true. That first brother, before he even got back to his hometown, died. And this brother, he lived for 30 more years from the date of this event. So it shows you the emphasis of making unity between the family itself before we try branch out to our dear friends and our society. The second very short point we wanted to mention was in regards to Imam Musa Kadhim's love for his zawar, his love for his visitors. And we don't just find that today. Indeed, we'd find Imam Musa Kadhim is known as Bab al-Hawaij. He is the door to your wishes. If you ask through Imam Musa Kadhim's wasila, no doubt your legitimate hajats will be accepted. But Imam Musa Kadhim also loves his fellow Zawar and his fellow Shia, his lovers a lot as well. And this one example portrays this, where one man from Iraq came to visit Ali ibn Yaqtin. And when he came to visit Ali ibn Yaqtin was one of Imam Musa Kadhim's, you could say, trusted companions, but he was also working for the Banu Abbas. He came to Ali ibn Yaqtin to help, ask for help. And as he was busy, he was a government minister, a very busy schedule, as you can imagine. He said to him, "Go away. I don't want to see you. I haven't got time. Leave," in a very rude manner. And this follower, this lover of Imam Kadhim, traveled all the way back to Iraq. He came specially to Medina. When Ali ibn Yaqtin visited Imam Musa Kadhim one night, he was entrusted at this point with the khums. So he came to give it to Imam Musa Kadhim, this khums. But as soon as he knocked on the door, normally Imam Musa Kadhim would come out. But Imam didn't come out on this occasion. Imam Musa Kadhim stayed within his own house and said to him, "What's the matter?" And he found it very heart-striking, like, because Imam Musa Kadhim never speaks to him like this. And he said, "Imam Musa Kadhim, what's the matter? What have I done wrong?" And Imam Musa Kadhim told him, "That lover of the Ahlul Bayt who came to you for help, the way you turned him away, why didn't you listen to what we said? We've allowed you to work for the government in this instance so that you can help the fellow Shias, the fellow lovers of the Ahlul Bayt." He said, "Imam, what can I do now?" And Imam Musa Kadhim said, "Now go all the way to Iraq and ask for his forgiveness." He said, "Yabna Rasulullah, I am in Medina. It's going to take me a long time to go to Iraq right now." But here we see the beauty of the wilaya takwini that the Imams were blessed with. Imam Musa Kadhim said, "I will give you something to read. Read this holy name of Allah and you will blink and you will be in Iraq." And he did so. He read the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the special ism that Imam Musa Kadhim gave to him, and he found himself in Iraq. He knocked on this man's door. The man was very surprised. "Oh, Ali ibn Yaqtin, it's the middle of the night and you've come here to meet me." And he said, "Yes, I've come to ask for your forgiveness." He said, You've been forgiven. There's no worry." Ali ibn Yaqtin said, "No. Now I'm going to lay down on the floor and you place your foot on my face." Why? "So that I remember this instance for the rest of my life." He did so, and he came back to Medina, and Imam Musa Kadhim admonished him once more and said, remember what duties we have given to you." So it shows you that Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam knows of his lovers, his followers, wherever you may be. And one final point we mentioned before we welcome our dear lecturer, Syed Imran Qaseem, regarding Imam Musa Kadhim's immaculate knowledge. We find on one occasion where Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam is visiting Rasulullah, and Harun also came. Harun lanatullah alayhi came and he said to Rasulullah, to show off, to show how close he was to Rasulullah, he said, "Assalamu alayka, peace be upon you, O Rasulullah, you are my cousin." And Imam Musa Kadhim replied to this and said to Rasulullah, "Assalamu alayka, ya Jadda, peace be upon you, O my grandfather." Harun Abbasi looked to Imam Musa Kadhim and said, "Why do you say you are his son, his grandson? You're the sons of Ali. Rasulullah only had one daughter, Fatima, and you are the sons of Ali. You cannot inherit Rasulullah because he only had one daughter. And in that time, the custom tradition was that you could not inherit a female. So why are you saying you are the son of Rasulullah? That makes no sense." Imam Musa Kadhim alayhi salam, very beautifully demonstrating his knowledge of the Quran, said to him, "Have you not read Surah An'am, chapter 6, verses 85, 84 and 85, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, and we only read a portion of it, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ وَأَيُّوبَ وَيُوسُفَ وَمُوسَى وَهَارُونَ وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ وَزَكَرِيَّا وَيَحْيَا وَإِيسَى." He said to Harun that in this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we gave Ibrahim all these prophets, and he mentions Isa. But how can Isa be related to Hazrat Ibrahim when he had no father? He only had a mother. Harun said, "Yes, this is because of Bibi Maryam. She is the pure." So Imam Musa Kadhim said, if Isa in the eyes of the Quran is the son of Prophet Ibrahim because of Bibi Maryam, then why can't I be the son or the grandson of Rasulullah because of Lady Fatima? Indeed, Lady Maryam is Sayyidatun Nisa, Bibi Fatima is Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen. And so I am more closer to Rasulullah than you. With this in mind, we welcome our dear brother Syed Imran Qaseem to begin his lecture in honor of Imam Musa Kadhim, and we welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Can you all see me and hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, brother.
Okay, I would appreciate if it's a little bit more interactive, because when we talk to a screen, we don't even know whether people have gone asleep. If I am boring you, please holler to say that you need to pick it up. So anytime you feel like reciting a salawat, please do. Anytime you want Nara Haidari, please do, so that it gives me the feeling that I am there with you and you are there with me.
inshallah.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillahi allazi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. As-salatu was-salam wa tahiyyatu wal ikram ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa khatamin nabiyyin wa habibil ilahil alamin sayyidina wa nabiyyina wa maulana Abil Qasim Mustafa Muhammad wa ala ahli baytihi tayyibin at-tahirin wal masumin wal mazlumin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Qala Allah ta'ala fil kitabihil kareem wa qawluhul haqq allazina yunfiquna fis sarra'i wal zarra'i wal kadhimina al ghayza wal afina 'anan nas wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Sadaqallahul aliyyul azim. Can you all have a loud salawat, please?
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
My condolences to you all on the eve of the day of Shahada of Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim alayhi salam, and my condolences to our Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam on this sad day or sad evening rather. Some of you have the date of 25th of Rajab starting tonight, while some of you will be having it starting tomorrow evening. Inshallah, whatever day we are commemorating this day, we hope to learn from the characteristics, the personality of Babul Hawaj Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, so that we can put them into practice in our own lives. You know, we Shia are very good in coming to Majlis and listening to the lectures and, actually participating and enjoying those lectures and having the niyaz with a lot of gusto and a lot of, what you call, a lot of aqidat. In Urdu, they say aqidat. So, but the point where we are lacking is in practicing it on ourselves. That is where we need to focus a lot more on. These lectures are for reminding us for the love that we hold for the Aimal Athar alayhimus salam, and also mainly for implementing their lives, their examples of their lives into our own lives as much as possible. Then only we can claim to be even lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. Forget about being called the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Now, I've been asked to speak in English and also to do the Masayib in Urdu. I'll try my best to be bilingual as much as possible. Sometimes it is a bit of a challenge, but I'm no prolific speaker who can skip between languages very easily. So if you see any inconsistencies, I apologize in advance, and hopefully you'll be able to bring up or note down something which is useful for all of us, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
محمد.
I congratulate all the reciters and Brother Zoria for organizing this. It was very beautiful. I was already logged in, but I was in a different sort of an ID which you couldn't recognize. So I had to log out and log in again. So starting my talk on Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, I start with a note of a sort of, a note where we need to be a little bit concerned in the sense that we are not very aware and not as emotionally invested in Imam Musa al-Kadhim. In fact, we are not invested in quite a few Imams as much as we should be. Because, we all, when we go, whoever has had the honor of going and visiting him in Baghdad, in Kadhimiya, we go there, we say, Assalamu alaikum ya Musa al-Jafar. And the emotion that is there for, let's say, an Imam Hussain alayhi salam, or Imam Hassan alayhi salam, or Imam Ali alayhi salam, is not there for Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. There's only one reason for that. That is because we are not as much aware, You have not put enough energy, enough time in studying the life of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. So hopefully this will be a kickstart for some to, read a bit more into Imam Kazim alayhi salam's life and to learn more and to understand what he went through in his life. He was born on the 7th of Safar in the year 128 Hijrah. Now, we do not celebrate his birthday either, because Safar, as you all know, is a time of commemoration of sadness for the events in Karbala that happened. So Muharram, Safar, and then the first 8 days of Rabiul Awwal, we are in a state of sadness. So 7th of Safar is bang in the middle of the time, and we don't even commemorate in a celebration Imam Musa's birthday. And he was killed on 25th of Rajab in the year 183 after Hijrah. So he was killed before his 55th birthday, according to the Hijri calendar, and before his 54th birthday, according to the Gregorian calendar. Now, his father was Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, as you all know, the 6th Imam, and his mother was Hamida al-Maghribiya. She's from the land of between Morocco and Tunisia. So you have Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. It's called Maghrib of Africa, the west of Africa, the northwest of Africa. So she was from this part of the African continent. Now, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far was not the eldest of the children of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Ismail is mentioned as the oldest son or the eldest son. However, he died during the lifetime of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Now, the Ismaili Shia, who are the Ismailis, we call them Ismailis, they are the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, but they only consider up to 6. And then Ismail and his descendants are their Imams. So this is how the Ismailis came into the picture. Now, he also had a son named Abdullah. And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is actually referred to as Abu Abdullah in books of fiqh in many places. So whenever you see Abu Abdullah, it is referred to as Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So in this opening paragraph that I've spoken, this opening statement that I made, 2 myths are very clearly dispelled. One is that you don't have to be, or the children of the Aimma do not have to be the eldest son to be an Imam. It is not about heredity. It is not about the chronology of birth, but it has to be about who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks is best suited to be the Imam. One who has the maximum isma. That's the one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nominates or selects as the Imam. Because the Imam cannot be making mistakes. He has to be leading the whole community. So the Imam has to be with the maximum isma. It does not matter whether he's the eldest or not. So in Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam's case, he was not the eldest. So that one is gone. So no hereditary business, no chronology of birth, nothing like that. The other thing that is dispelled in this is that, in our communities, there is this myth that a Sayyid has to be married to a Sayyida, or a Sayyida has to be married to a Sayyid only. This is not the case. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq salamullah alayh, he was in Medina. He is from the lineage of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Bibi Fatima salamullah alayha and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And he could have easily said, no, I will only select an Arab woman who is from the lineage of Imam Ali and Lady Fatima salamullah alayha. And even then, if he did not consider the Sadat, he could have easily stuck to the Arabs of Medina if he wanted. But he did not. He married an African slave girl, a North African slave girl, which shows there is no casteism in Islam. No casteism, no hierarchy of which family you belong to. That is literally a very, very sad situation that we have in reality, because this thing is so strong. People have fights amongst families. People fall out with each other because, they married somebody who was not a Sadat. However, I would actually encourage the young people who are looking to get married not to be stuck with this thing about Sadat, non-Sadat, all that stuff, because this is what the example of our Aimat Har alayhi salam is. Because if the person is good, the person is pious, if the person is of good temperament, has good akhlaq, does the prayers trustworthy, truthful, all the good stuff that you see generally in a so-called sadat, then whether it's a sadat or not doesn't matter. And also there is this thing about, not marrying from Africa. People from India, Pakistan, they don't want to marry in Africa. If the daughter or the son finds somebody who is of African origin, oh my God, there's going to be a lot of trouble in the family. And this is not, I'm not talking out of my hat here. I'm talking with a lot of, experience that I have seen in society, lots of examples that I see all the time, and consistent talk on social media about Sadat and non-Sadat, marrying within the Sadat, and how people are, defending their attitude that we only marry within the Sayyid clan. Well, doesn't hold water, to be honest, because the Aimma alayhimus salam have given clear indications. It doesn't matter whether somebody is a Sayyid or not. Now, the young people have to take on the cudgels to dispel all these myths. It doesn't mean that you disrespect your parents. Sorry, I have any background. Everything okay? Zoria? Okay, thank you. So, yeah. So the young people have to be very careful in taking up the cudgels of dispelling these myths and these fanciful ideas that people have. However, there is no scope for disrespect for your parents or your elders. You have to do it in a very kind manner, in an understanding manner, in a mature manner, especially if we are followers of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So his mother was Hamida, and she was bought by Imam Baqir alayhi salam, and she was given to Imam Jafar as-Sadiq, his son, and freed. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam then married her, and he taught her the Quran and all the Islamic jurisprudence, the akhlaqiyat, the fiqh matters, everything about Islam. And she became a very, very learned woman. And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam used to tell her, or encourage her to answer the questions of the women and to teach the women. She became a proper faqihah, a jurist. So Imam Musa's mother was a very, very pious woman. And that's why it is important we do not get stuck up with caste and, area of whether you're brought up or born or what color you are, but we focus on the piety. We focus on the piety and the religiosity of a person. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, Imam Musa ibn Jafar al-Islam was born in a place called Abwa, which is a place between Medina and Makkah. When Bibi Hamida was expecting the blessed baby, she had gone for Hajj with the Imam, her husband, Imam Sadiq al-Islam. And on the way back, they had stopped at Abwa, and Hamida sent a message to her husband, Imam Sadiq al-Islam, that her labor was at such a stage that the birth of the baby was due imminently. Imam Sadiq al-Islam was having breakfast with his other family members and companions, and he got up and went straight to his wife. And he came back later with the good news of the birth of his son. Now, Imam Sadiq al-Islam said his son resembled Nabi Musa alayhi salam, and that he had named his son Musa. Now, the seventh Imam is the only Imam who has been named after a Nabi other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Quite a few of the Imams are called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam is the only one who is named other than Rasulullah as a Nabi. So he was named after Musa alayhi salam. Now, Musa alayhi salam, the Prophet, was known for his haibat, for his strong temper. But it does not mean that he was misusing his temper. He was a prophet after all. Prophets do not misuse, or they have full control of their intellect. They're not carried over by emotions. So Nabi Musa alayhi salam had a strong temper. When he saw wrong, he used to dispel it with his temper. In fact, he pushed one person so hard that he had died, if you remember the story of Musa alayhi salam. And he was a babe in arms when Pharaoh's wife had picked up this baby in the basket from the river, as you all know the story. And Pharaoh picked him up, and Musa alayhi salam had hit Pharaoh with his fist very strongly, and Pharaoh had actually felt it, and he was concerned that this baby was the one who could kill him. However, on the flip side, Imam Musa alayhi salam was the one who was fully in control of his anger to the highest extent. The meaning of Kadhim is somebody who has got total control of the faculty of anger, the ghazab within him. They've got total control over it. And the verse that I recited was about people who can control their anger are loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the verse which said people who spend in the way of Allah, whether they are in difficulty or they are in good times, and people who control their anger and do good, they are the ones who are loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is a very important thing for us to be able to control our anger big time. If we claim to be followers of Musa al-Kadhim salamullah alayh, we have to be the ones who are good at controlling our anger and managing and channeling our anger to the best possible way. Imam Qasim alayhi salam was the one who controlled his anger to the highest possible extent. People would come and say rude things to him, but he would never get angry. They would curse his father, and he had a conciliatory tone towards them. Once a man had cursed him and his father, and Imam asked his companions, how should we deal with this man? All the companions said that they should go and teach him a lesson. But Imam Qasim alayhi salam said, no, leave him to me. So the next day, Imam went to visit this person who had a big garden, he had proper fruits and all that growing in his garden. So this man saw Imam come into his garden, and again he started with his choicest rude words. Imam replied, it was a nice garden. And the man retorted that his garden was already damaged because of the footsteps of the Imam. Now, imagine this being happening to you, or you see it happening to your father, how you're going to be reacting. The man replied that his garden was already damaged because of the footsteps of the Imam. And Imam said, how much have you spent on this garden? The man said 100 dinar. Imam asked, okay, how much do you expect to make from this garden? The man replied, 200 dinar. Imam Musa alayhi salam gave him a purse with dinars in them. The man counted, there were exactly 300 dinars in there. And the man said, but I cursed you and your father. And Imam Kadhim replied that we, Ahlul Bayt, have been sent not just to instill akhlaq in others, but to practice it ourselves. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Please, loudly.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So we have not just been sent to instill akhlaq in others, but to practice it ourselves. He said he could have easily replied, but he chose to restrain himself and react with dignity. Now, turning it out to ourselves, my dear brothers and sisters, we as human beings, if we keep retorting to the barbs of others, then when do you think and where do you think it will end? It will never stop, because it will always be about to and froing. We have to be learning to restrain. One has to be able to absorb a lot and restrain ourselves by thinking a little bit more laterally to avoid escalation. We all get angry, We all have issues with our loved ones. Some less, some more. But, we only have issues with our loved ones, by the way. I can tell you that. We don't bother about people who are on the street with whom we have nothing to do, but we have issues with our loved ones, whether it be our spouses, whether it be our siblings, brothers and sisters, that is. Unfortunately, sometimes with parents, and many times with our children, grown-up children, our cousins, sometimes our work colleagues, if we are very close friends with them, many times within the committee of the Islamic Center of the Husseiniya, many times. There's a tit for a tat situation going on. All these things are not very productive to start with, and they're not a reflection of us, ourselves, as a representative of the Aimal Athar alayhi salam. That it's all the moot point builds up to this fact that we are the representatives of Aimal Athar alayhi salam. We claim to be their followers, their Shia. How can we claim that when we are not even practicing one bit of what they have taught us? Different Imams have had different things that have focused on, because this laqab or this title of Imam Musa ibn Jafar alayhi salam was Kadhim, because he could swallow his anger big time. Maybe we can't do like him, but we can at least try and implement that characteristic in such a manner that we feel the change within ourselves. I can guarantee you with experience that if we try to, swallow the anger, later on you will feel much better about yourself. One will have more confidence in that particular personality, that they can handle a lot more that is thrown towards them, and you will find yourself dealing with difficult situations much better, inshallah ta'ala. So if I am a follower of Al-Kadhim, salamullah alayh, then I have to learn and practice from the example he showed me. And inshallah, we can do better after this very serious reminder to myself, first of all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa, whose temper was well known. Then Allah had the need to send another Musa who had total control over his anger. And that was Musa al-Kadhim, salamullah alayh. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, if we have good akhlaq, let's bring it to, the nitty-gritties of how it can affect other people and impact our own life. If we had good akhlaq, people will automatically be drawn towards you. You might not like all of them. You don't have to like all of them, but one has to be polite to everybody. But people are always drawn to people with good akhlaq, whether they might be very selfishly attracted, whether somebody might really be attracted to the beauty of their personality, whatever it is. But people only get attracted towards people with good akhlaq. If one is temperamental, then you will notice that people try to avoid that person. Don't want to be attached to that. And also, if we have good akhlaq, then people will listen to our knowledge. If we have certain knowledge, then it is easier to convey to a ready audience than to somebody whom you're forcing to sit and listen to. All of you know that. If somebody is ready to accept something, it is easier to speak with them rather than some people who are not ready to accept you. No. So the only way for people to be in a position or to get to a position where they will be wanting to listen to is through good akhlaq. If they know you as a nice person, that's when people are ready to engage. Once they engage, then you can talk about what your thoughts are, what you believe in, what is correct, what is not correct. Otherwise, it'll lead to an argument, totally. Because when you have respect from other people, that means you already are on a pedestal, which means they will listen to you, accept your speech a little bit more easily. So you have a one step ahead of them, so to speak. And many people with knowledge become very haughty. They are full of themselves, or they become very snappy in their temperament. People don't approach such people, as I said. But if one is loving and polite and forgives people, then people have respect. Like, take this example of Imam Musa ibn Jafar alayhi salam. One day he was walking by a big house and he heard loud music being played from that house. This was the house of Bishr or Bushr. Like in Arabic, you still write, the same letters. It's not Bashar. It is pronounced the Bushr or Bishr. I think his name was mainly Bishr. So he used to drink and enjoy music, and he had lots of money. And once he was drunk, when Imam Musa was passing by, he threw his glass out in a state of a little drunkenness. And then he asked one of the servant girls to go and bring it back from outside. So she went outside, and Imam saw her and asked a question, because he was hearing music being played from the house. He asked her, "Can you tell me if the owner of the house is Abd or Hur?" In English, we can say, is the owner of the house a slave or a free man? Abd being slave, Hur being free. Is the owner of the house a slave or a free man? The servant girl replied that I am the slave. I am the slave, but the owner is a free man. Imam replied, yes, it seems so, because if he was a slave, then he would have known that his master is watching him. So when the servant went inside, Bishr asked her why it took her so long to get his glass. And she replied that she was about to come in, but a passerby stopped to ask a question. So Bishr asked, what did he ask? The servant replied that he asked whether the owner of this house is a slave or a free man. And I replied that I am the slave and he is a free man. Now Bishr's mind suddenly started getting out of his drunken stupor a little bit. He started to get a bit conscious of what was this? Who was this? So he asked the slave girl, what did he say after that? What she replied to him? The servant replied that the man said, yes, it seems like he's a free man, because if he was a slave, then he would have known his master was watching him when he was committing sins. When Bishr heard that, he was back to his total sobriety. He's back to his senses. He stood up and asked, what did this man look like and which way he went? And the servant girl told him that, he was a man with a lot of, very shiny face and had white robes on him. And he looked this way and that way and told him where he went. Bishr ran out of his house without his slippers or shoes. He ran after the Imam and found him and recognized him. And he started apologizing to the Imam and asked if there was any chance of forgiveness for him. Now, Imam Musa Al-Qasim replied, you do your sincere tawbah and repent and refrain from the sins, and I will guarantee my shafaat for you on the day of judgment. Since that day, Bishr never wore any footwear. This person is one of the leading Sufis, and he's known as Bishr al-Hafi. Hafi is the one who walks barefoot. He's buried in Baghdad as well. People used to ask Bishr, oh Bishr, you are so well off. Why do you walk barefoot? He used to say that being barefoot reminds him of the day when he was forgiven by Abdul Saleh, that is Imam Qasim alayhi salam, and the day that I did Tawbah. This was the effect of politeness of Imam Qasim alayhi salam. He did not go around saying, yeah, this music coming from the house, this is such a sin that he's doing, you will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you will be sent to hell, all that stuff. No. He just said, if it was a slave, he would know his master is watching. So this was the impact. Imam Musa Al-Qasim, this is one of the anecdotes. I'm not going to go over time, but I get a feeling I might. But let me continue. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, Imam Qasim alayhi salam saw the time of a few caliphs, Mansur al-Dawaniqi al-Abbasi, then Hadi al-Abbasi, Mahdi al-Abbasi, and amongst the worst of all was Harun al-Abbasi, who was called Rashid, but he was Lanatullah alayh, Harun al-Abbasi. Imam Musa al-Qasim alayhi salam was the most tortured of any Imam to the Ahlul Bayt by the Abbasi. Most tortured. You will see. You heard many majalis, inshallah, and you will see from my talk as well that how he was the most tortured. Imam's ilm, like the ilm of all the Aimma al-Athar alayhimus salam, was a very, very high caliber. Remember, Abu Hanifa, Abu Hanifa is one of the jurisprudential Imams in Ahl Sunnah. Of the four Imams, you have the Hanafi, the Hanbali, the Shafi'i, the Maliki. So Hanafi are the ones who follow Imam Abu Hanifa, as you probably already know. So he was a student of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Remember, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam's students were not just Shias, but they were Ahl Sunnah, they were Khawariji, they were non-Muslims of different beliefs, and they were also atheists. They came as atheists, but they went away as muwahids. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he had, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam had more than 20,000 students in Medina. Now, Abu Hanifa was an elderly man. And one day he came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam's house and knocked the door. So a 5-year-old Musa ibn Jafar, salamullah alayh, opened the door, and Abu Hanifa asked to meet his father because he had a question to be answered. So the little boy replied that his father is a bit busy. Maybe he could help with the query. Abu Hanifa said, no, don't worry, I'll wait. The young boy insisted. He said, if you tell me the question, then maybe I can either answer you or I will, convey this question to my father, who can answer it for you when he's free. So Abu Hanifa said that the question is, when a person does a sin, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding him to do the sin? Or Allah and the person both are involved in the sin? Or is it only the person who is responsible? And even these days, the discussion on predestination and free will rolls on, in the attempt to understand the reality. But our fiqh and our, ideology is very clear on this one. So the little Imam Musa ibn Ja'far salamullah alayhi says, this is very easy to answer. Why bother my father with this? Let me give you the answer. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding a person to do a sin, then there would be no rationale to punish the person in the afterlife to hell for that sin. Also, if Allah is involved in the sin together with the person in the sin, then the same rationale holds, because Allah can't punish for something He Himself is a party to. So the responsibility of sin lies totally on the choice of that person, and he is completely liable for it. Abu Hanifa was stymied that such a little boy can answer a question so eloquently and so succinctly. And once again, Abu Hanifa said to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that his son Musa prays wrong. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam asked, what did he do? Abu Hanifa said to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that he saw Musa praying and someone walked in front of him, but he did not hold out his hand like this, to stop the person from walking in front of him. So Imam Sadiq said, go and tell him yourself. So Abu Hanifa went to speak with young Imam Musa and said, you pray wrong, because you need to hold out your hand when somebody is walking in front of you in Salat. You must have noticed this if you've been to Makkah, Medina. You see people, when you walk past them, they'll hold their hands. Don't walk in front of me, I'm praying. So that is a requirement in the fiqh, apparently. Well, it is different fiqh for different. In our fiqh, doesn't matter. Imam Musa alayhi salam, he was a young boy. He said to Abu Hanifa, well, Abu Hanifa, Allah is closer than my jugular vein to me. And when I am praying, I do not notice anything or anyone walking in front of me. So if I don't notice anything, then I can't stop anyone from walking in front of me. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
In Shia fiqh, it is makruh for us to pray in front of the open door. It's for all people. Makruh to pray in front of an open door, because it can cause disturbances and concentration is broken if people are moving around, passing by, cars, vehicles, all are moving around. Again, something similar happened to Imam Musa al-Kazim when the door was open and he was praying, and the students of Imam Sadiq were unhappy about it. They were complaining to Imam Sadiq. So Imam Sadiq said, you all can go and tell him that once he finishes. So once Imam Musa al-Kazim he finished the prayer, the students of Imam Sadiq converged on him and told him not to pray with the door open. Imam Musa replied that the God that I pray to is closer than this door to me. He is closer than my jugular vein, and I do not get disturbed if the door is open. My dear brothers and sisters, our salat and concentration levels are something else. I'm just trying to bring you the salat of Aimma al-Athar alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali. Also, in our fiqh, it is makruh to pray in front of a qabr, in front of a grave. So you can't be praying with the grave in front of you. It'll be accepted. Prayer is valid, but the sawab goes less. Except if it is the qabr of a masoom. Prayer is only accepted behind an imam, not standing in front of the imam. How can you stand in front of the zari of the imam? But people say, oh, he's dead. I say, we do not believe that they are dead. They are in the salah. And I do not pray ahead of my imam, because my salat will not be valid. We believe that they are alive and they get rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So praying behind the zari of the Imam alayhi salam is acceptable and valid. Now, many Sufia, many awliya are buried in Baghdad. Many were students or inspired by the seventh Imam. Kazmiya is called that because of Imam Kazim alayhi salam's shrine is there. There is another district in Baghdad which is called Azmiya because Abu Hanifa is buried there. And Bishr al-Hafi, Abdul Qadir Jilani, all are buried around. All the Abbasi caliphs were notorious for tormenting the Ahlul Bayt, and despite that, Imam had many students. Imam Kazim alayhi salam spent many years of his imamah in prison. Some narrations say 11 years, some say to 14 years. Not continuously, but short periods, sometimes long periods as well. He had many lovers who would come to him, the prison guards who were supposed to torture him and guard him. He used to leave torturing him because they were so inspired and affected by his akhlaq. Bahlul was one of the lovers and followers of Imam Kazim alayhi salam. Bahlul had a long life, and he saw the lifetime of 5 Imam alayhi salam. Now, once Imam Kazim was in prison, Bahlul and 2 other Shias of Imam went to in prison to see him and seek guidance what to do in this situation when he's in prison. So Imam could not speak clearly because of the guards around it, because it would have affected the lives, the safety of the other 3 that were there as well. So all Imam said was Jim, the letter Jim in Arabic, Alif Ba Ta Sa Jim. The letter Jim, he said Jim. So one of the companions or the Shia understood as Jim as Jabal, as in a mountain. So he decided to go and live in a mountain. Another one understood it as Jamal, as in a camel. So he got on his camel and he said, wherever this camel goes and takes me, I'll go there. Bahlul understood as Junoon. Jim, Junoon, it starts with Jim. So he decided to act mad. And remember, he was a high-ranking minister in Harun's kingdom, and he was a relative of his wife as well. So he decided to act mad. He tore off his clothes and he started sleeping rough on the streets, and people started commenting that this Bahlul has gone mad. One day, in his torn clothes, he came and sat on the throne of Harun. Because remember, he had access to the court of Harun because he was a minister. But now he's become very shabby. He still came and sat on the throne. The courtiers pulled him away and beat the living daylights out of him. But you're so dirty, and you have the audacity to sit on the caliph's throne? When Harun came into the court, he saw Bahlul wailing and crying, and asked him what's going on. So the courtier said, Harun al-Rashid, this Bahlul in his dirty clothes was sitting and jumping on your throne, and we beat him up. And then Harun addressed Bahlul and he said, oh, Bahlul, are you crying because, you've been beat up badly? Bahlul said, no, I'm not crying because of that. I'm crying for you. He said, what do you mean you're crying for me? He said, I'm crying for you because I sat on your throne for a few minutes and these guys beat me so much, it hurts. I'm wondering, how long have you been sitting on Ali Muhammad's place? And how badly will you be beaten? That's what I'm crying for. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alim. He was a very witty man. Bahlul means very witty. He had a quick brain, and I used to answer very sharply. I don't have the time to relate other incidents of Imam Kazim alayhi salam's effect on Bahlul. Okay, maybe I will, sorry, my phone's going. Maybe I'll relate one more, which you might enjoy. Harun called up Bahlul and he said, can you get me 40 people who hate Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? So he didn't say that, I'm saying it. So Bahlul said, oh, it's very easy. I'll go and get you 40 people, no problem. So Bahlul went to the square, town square, and he started shouting from there. Can anybody come to me who hates Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? People started coming. So I've got a gift, I've got a reward from the Khalifa if you come to me and tell me if you hate Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he gathered 40 people. It was very easy in those days, and especially in the name of reward, people will come in. So he gathered all those 40 people. They've come to the palace, you'll get your reward from the Khalifa. So Harun saw this, what's going on? He said, you asked for 40 people these are all, and all those 40 people started getting ready and trying to grab him by the throat and kill him, that he's abusing me. So Harun said, what's going on, Bahul? Why are you calling them bad names? He said, well, it is very clear from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if you find a hater of Ali ibn Abi Talib, you know that there is a doubt in his shijra. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
So
Muhammad.
Imam was sent from prison to prison. Imam was sent from prison to prison. Abbasis were always on the lookout for how they could kill the Imam. And Harun asked all his muftis to generate a fatwa that, he could, give a order to get Musa ibn Jafar killed. So it was decided to send a woman who used to make a living selling a body to Imam Kadhim's prison cell, and then blame him for zina, a'udhu billah, and then kill him. When the woman was brought to the Imam one night, she said, take from me whatever you want. And Imam said, do not come near me. I am the symbol of purity. I am the symbol of Ayatul Tathir. I am pure and do not attempt to defile me. And the woman tried even more with her words. Then Imam showed her between his fingers the scenes from Jannah and all the angels telling her not to get close to the Imam. And this woman was so petrified at the powers of Imam Salamullah. She then asked the Imam if she could be forgiven. And Imam said, you repent and you will be forgiven. Imam asked her to pray behind him, and when the door of the prison was opened in the morning, the woman was in sujood behind the Imam. He used to make people become pious through his behavior, Salamullah. We have such examples in front of us, my dear brothers and sisters. We have no excuse to be lax in our piety. We should always attempt to be better in our piety. I'm talking to myself here, and I'm sure you're listening to me, but maybe, inshallah, you also have this kind of a relative effect so that we can all develop our piety even more. In the last prison, that is, he was imprisoned in, it was the prison of Sindhi. The roof was very low, so low that Imam could not stand straight while praying. It was so narrow that Imam could not sit down properly. बहुत छोटा वो था जिंदान, इतना पतला था कि इमाम बड़ी तकलीफ में रहते थे. जब शुरू में इमाम को जिंदान में डाला गया था, तो इमाम ने अल्लाह से दुआ की थी, या अल्लाह, हमने तुझसे मांगा कि तू हमें मौका दे कि मैं अकेले तुम्हारी इबादत करूं. तूने मुझे जिंदान दे दिया, मैं तेरा लाख शुक्रगुजार. Imam used to say, show his gratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was in prison. It is again a lesson for us. हमारे लिए ये सीख है कि हम उस चीज से सीखें, जब हमारा वक्त खराब होता है तब भी हम शुक्र करें अल्लाह का. सब्र शाकिरीन अलग, जो सब्र करे और शुक्र करे उस वक्त जब उसका वक्त खराब, न सिर्फ उस वक्त जब हमारा वक्त अच्छा हो. अच्छे वक्त में तो शुक्र करना ही चाहिए, लेकिन जब बुरा वक्त आए तब भी शुक्र करना चाहिए. इमाम को खाना कम देते थे, इतना कम देते थे कि वो दुबले पतले हो गए थे, like a skeleton. वो जब भी इबादत करते थे, सजदा करते थे, लगता था कि सिर्फ एक कपड़ा रखा हुआ है, क्योंकि उनका बदन इतना पतला दुबला हो गया था, इतना कमजोर हो गया था कि पता ही नहीं चलता था कि वो इंसान भी है उस कपड़े के अंदर. और इमाम इतना परेशान हो गए थे उस जिंदान में, जब वो छोटा जो नीचे कद का जो जिसकी छत थी और पतला दुबला था, वो बिल्कुल नैरो था वो जिंदान. तब इमाम ने अल्लाह से दुआ की, या अल्लाह, मुझे अब इस जिंदान हारून के जिंदान से मुझे निजात दिला दे. कुछ दिन के बाद कोई शिया आए इमाम से मिलने के लिए कि या इमाम, आपको कब रिहाई मिलेगी, हम कब आपसे इस्तिफादा करेंगे. तब इमाम ने कहा कि जुमे का दिन सुबह को मेरी रिहाई होगी और मैं बगदाद के पुल पे पाया जाऊं. हारून ने इमाम मूसा अल-काज़िम अलैहिस्सलाम को पॉइजन्ड डेट्स, जहर मिलाया हुआ کھجور بھیجا اور امام سے کہا، امام کو یہ پیش کیا گیا، ان کی گارڈز نے اس کو پیش کیا، امام نے کھایا اور اس سے ان کی طبیعت خراب ہوئی اور اس سے ان کی شہادت ہوئی۔ امام موسیٰ الکاظم علیہ السلام اکیلے زندان میں تڑپتے ہوئے ان کا انتقال ہوا۔ میرے بھائیوں بہنوں، 3 تابوت ایسے ہیں نا جن کو سوچنے میں بڑا تکلیف ہوتی ہے بہت زیادہ۔ ایک بی بی فاطمہ سلام اللہ علیہ تابوت جو رات میں اٹھایا گیا تھا، امام علی علیہ السلام کے ساتھ 14 افراد، ان کے بچوں رات میں اٹھایا گیا، دفنایا گیا اور قبر کو چھپا دیا گیا۔ آج تک پتہ نہیں بی بی فاطمہ سلام اللہ علیہ کی قبر کون سی، کہاں ہے۔ ایک وہ قبر تھی جو ایک ننھی سی بچی کی تھی دمشق کے زندان میں، جب ان کو غسل دینے لائق ان کو کپڑا بھی نہیں اتار کے غسل دیا جا سکتا تھا، اتنی بری حالت میں ان کا جسم تھا بی بی سکینہ کا۔ اور ایک امام موسیٰ الکاظم سلام اللہ علیہ کا تابوت تھا، ان کے تابوت پر زنجیریں لٹکتی ہیں۔ آج بھی جب تابوت اٹھتا ہے نا تو امام موسیٰ الکاظم علیہ السلام کے تابوت سے زنجیریں لٹکتی۔ 4 نوکروں کو پیسے دے کے ان کا تابوت اٹھایا گیا تھا، جن کے 18 بیٹے ہوں، ان کا تابوت اٹھانے کے لیے 4 کرائے کے لوگ تھے، اور ایک اور نوکر کو پیسے دے کے نعرے لگانے کے لیے رکھا گیا تھا آگے آگے کہ دیکھو رافضیوں کا امام مارا گیا، وہ نعرے لگاتا جاتا تھا۔ اور یہ 4 امام کے تابوت کو لے کے آئے، بغداد کے پل پہ رکھ دیا۔ وہاں کچھ لوگ جمع تھے امام کے ماننے والے، وہ گھبرا گئے ہیں کہ یہ امام کے ساتھ یہ کیا ہوا۔ گئے دیکھا کہ آج بھی اس وقت بھی امام کے ہاتھوں میں زنجیریں لگی ہوئی ہیں۔ تو لوگوں نے کہا کہ امام کے ہاتھ سے زنجیر تو کاٹ دیا ہوتا۔ تو لوگ وہ جو لے کے آئے تھے خادم، وہ کہنے لگے کہ ان کے ہاتھ سے ہم زنجیر کاٹ نہیں سکتے کیونکہ یہ زنجیر جو ان کے گوشت ہڈی تک پہنچ گئی تھی۔ اس طرح سے جھگڑا ہوا تھا امام کو کہ وہ زنجیر بھی کاٹا نہیں جا سکتا تھا۔ اتنے میں ایک آدمی نورانی شخص فرات سے آیا اور اس تابوت میں اپنے بابا سے جا کے لپٹ گیا۔ وہ اور کوئی نہیں، امام علی ابن موسیٰ الرضا تھے۔ وہ آئے اپنے بابا کے گلے سے لگ گئے کہ یا بابا، ہم تو آپ کا انتظار کرتے رہے، آپ کے بچے آپ کا انتظار کرتے رہے مدینہ میں کہ آپ کی کب رہائی ملے گی۔ اب رہائی ملی بھی تو اس کنڈیشن میں کہ آپ ہمیں اب عیدی نہیں دے سکتے۔ عید کے دوران انہوں نے امام کا جنازہ پڑھایا۔ امام کا جنازہ پڑھانے کے بعد ان کو کاظمیہ میں دفنایا گیا۔ آج روزے میں امام کو باب الحوائج کہا جاتا، کیوں نہ ہو باب الحوائج، کیونکہ ان کی دعا، ان کے دروازے سے دعائیں قبول ہوتی۔ کیا کیا نہیں سہا امام نے، اتنا زیادہ ظلم کیا گیا، اس زندان سے اس زندان، ہر زندان کے بعد زندان، اور اس کے بعد بھی ان کو قتل کر دیا گیا زندان کے اندر۔ اللہ لعنت اللہ علی قوم الظالمین وسیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون۔ انا للہ وانا الیہ راجعون۔ یا اللہ بحق باب الحوائج امام موسیٰ الکاظم سلام اللہ علیہ ہم سب کو ہدایت نصیب فرما، ہم سب کی توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما، ہمارے تقوی میں اضافہ فرما۔ یا اللہ ہمیں علم کی طرف جانے کی توفیق عطا فرما۔ جتنے لوگ ہمارے جاننے میں بیمار ہیں، بحق باب الحوائج ہم اب سے مانگتے ہیں، یا اللہ سب کو شفا آپ فرمائے۔ یا اللہ جو لوگ رزق کے لیے پریشان ہیں، ان کے رزق بحق باب الحوائج امام موسیٰ الکاظم، ان کے رزق میں اضافہ فرمایا، برکت فرمایا۔ ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتوب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله.
Thank you once more to our dear brother Syed Imran Qaseem. A very enlightening lecture. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bihaqqi Imam Musa Kadhim Bab al-Hawaj bless you further and increase your tawfiqat inshallah. Before we go to our brother Zulfiqar Chohan, who's joined us today as well for the Noha, I would like to mention just one more thing. As our dear brother was mentioning, for 3 days the body of Imam Musa Kadhim was kept on the bridge in Baghdad, and it was no doubt a lot of mazlumiyat. But today we take our hearts to Kadhimain. We will also take our hearts to Mashhad and Qum as well, because we also pay our respects to Bibi Ma'sumaikum in Imam Rida, and we say with our hands closed that with the utmost respect that our dear personalities, your father Imam Musa Kadhim, when he was shaheed for 3 days, they kept his body, although it was in a coffin, in a bier, and he had the zanjeers shackled around his wrists, as our dear brother just recited, and around his neck. What must you have gone through? My mind takes me to the plains of Karbala as well, where on the 11th of Muharram, the likes of Umar Asad made a call that, oh, horse riders, sharpen the hooves of your horses. Why? Trample on the bodies of the companions of Imam Hussein, the likes of Hur, the likes of Muslim ibn Awsaja, Habib ibn Mazahir, all these companions. But they all had someone there to save them, someone there to say that this is our person. We are their waris. We cannot take this humiliation. You've killed them. That's enough there. So he said, then the Banu Hashim, the likes of Ali Akbar, Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Owen, Muhammad, Qasim, but they all had someone there from the mother's side to save them, to say that, no, we are their waris. You've killed our son. That's enough. And so there was only one body left on the plains of Karbala. According to another narration, there were two. One was the son of Fatima, Imam Hussein. One was the son of Bibi Rabab, Hazrat al-Yaskar. And so Umar Asad gave out a cry, oh, horse riders, trample on the body of these two people. And so we find that on the 13th of Muharram, when Imam Sajjad came back to Karbala, he asked the Banu Asad for a prayer mat. They said, oh, son of Hussein, why are you asking for a prayer mat? He said, because my father's body has been trampled into so many pieces. I have to pick up his pieces on the plains of Karbala. We say, oh, Bibi Ma'suma and Imam Rida, your father's 3 days of his body staying on the bridge of Baghdad was a calamity. But what must have the likes of Bibi Sakina, Bibi Ruqayya, Bibi Zainab have gone through, seeing their beloved Hussein on the plains of Karbala? I would now like to request our dear reciter, our very respected reciter, Brother Zulfiqar Chohan, to please come forward and recite his Noha for us. And we welcome our dear brother with a loud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farj.
गम में डूबा हुआ करबल का मुसाफिर देखा गम में डूबा हुआ करबल का मुसाफिर देखा रोते शबीर को ज़हरा की लहद पर देखा गम में डूबा हुआ करबल का मुसाफिर देखा अपना सर मार के दीवार से रोया गाजी अपना सर मार के दीवार से रोया गाजी जब नबी ज़ादी को आते हुए बाहर देखा गम में डूबा हुआ करबल का मुसाफिर देखा गम में डूबा हुआ करबल का मुसाफिर देखा नूर आँखों का गया कातिलों से पूछे हुसैन नूर आँखों का गया कातिलों से पूछे हुसैन کوئی بتلائے کسی نے میرا اکبر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، دور تک پھیلی ہے قاسم کی جوانی رن میں، دور تک پھیلی ہے قاسم کی جوانی رن میں، دیر تک ڈھونڈتا پھر صفتے پیمبر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، ساتھ بابا کے ہی مر گئی ہے سکینہ لوگوں، ساتھ بابا کے ہی مر گئی ہے سکینہ لوگوں، پیاسی گردن پہ جو معصوم ماں نے خنجر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، قافلہ قیدیوں کا کے رکا مقتل میں، قافلہ قیدیوں کا آ کے رکا مقتل میں، بے کفن بھائیوں نے بہنوں کو کھلے سر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، روتے شبیر کو زہرا کی لحد پر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، غم میں ڈوبا ہوا کربل کا مسافر دیکھا، بار محمد وآل محمد صلوات
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Before you say anything, Zuriya, may I say something, please?
Bismillah, Bismillah, brother.
Jazakallah khair, brother Zulfiqar. Again, I'd like to thank you, Zuriya, for asking me out again to speak and honor me with this chance to speak on behalf on this sad event of Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. Sorry, I don't have the correct lighting and all that, so I just sit on my living room and do this. So please excuse me for that.
No worries at all, brother. We like to thank all of our dear Mu'mini Mu'minat today, and our dear reciters, brother Abul Qasim Asadi, brother Yusuf Okera, our dear respected Syed Nayyar Kazmi, our very well recited Noha by brother Zulfiqar Chohan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further his tawfiqat. Very beautifully heart-touching recitation, and we also thank our dear brother Syed Imran Qaseem, all of whom our reciters today have taken time out of the busy schedule to attend the Majalis. And most of all the dear Mu'mineen, Mu'minat as well who are here. Indeed, you also busy, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you Musa Kadhim for attending the Majlis. This Majlis is on your behalf. This is your Majlis and your way of paying your respect to Abul Hawaj. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and your families, to accept all of your hajat, to remove all of your difficulties, and to allow us to be with Imam Musa Kadhim in the hereafter. Before we finish, I would like to request our dear Syed Imran to please end the Majalis with the recitation of Dua Faraj.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai. في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Thank you everyone once more. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. في أمان الله.